Well, hello there, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Thank you so much for joining me again this evening. Coming to you from random hotel room here in Down East Maine, here on this Monday night. A whole lot of hockey to talk about as we get through the Easter holiday and have a full weekend of playoff games. 4 games tonight that are ongoing. We have Washington and Montreal just finishing up the first period. Washington up 1-0. Alexander Ovechkin, beautiful slapper, stick side on Montembeault from his office. Washington taking that lead 1-0 into that first intermission. Good game so far, I would say. Montembeault letting up a few rebounds, but Montreal holding their own. So, we'll see how it all goes. Let's do a quick recap on what we saw this weekend. And I do want to apologize. Allergies are kicking my butt yet again tonight. I'm going to try my best to hit that pause and mute button as much as I possibly can. Starting off the playoffs, so back on Saturday night, the Jets 5-3 winners over the St. Louis Blues, a game in which I thought the Blues played very well, obviously had the lead in that third period. Winnipeg doing just enough to get that 3 goals in the third period there for Winnipeg to take that one. Certainly Winnipeg, the better team on paper, but nice to see St. Louis, battling. They're going to get a couple games of this series, in my opinion, but Winnipeg getting that first one, of course, in the first period. Robert Thomas with the first one on a power play for St. Louis, getting them on the board. Scheifele answers after that, along with Anderson Dolan to make it 2-1 Winnipeg. Then Sundqvist tying it up there in the first period. Kyrou with a power play goal in the second period, making it 3-2. And then that third period again, all Winnipeg. Iafallo with his first playoff goal. Kyle Connor making it 4-3, and then Lowry with the empty netter making it 5-3. And I am going to hit the mute button real quick. Sorry about that. All right, moving right along. We have, of course, later that night, the Avalanche with a dominant performance over the Dallas Stars there back on Saturday night. 5-1 winners. I think the only road win so far in the playoffs. A series that, of course, Dallas a little bit beat up, but we'll see. It's still early. First period, no goals there, so Dallas does survive that first period. But Lankinen and McKinnon both with goals in that second period, making it 2-0. Hintz does answer in the third period, making it 2-1. But then it's Toes, McKinnon again with an empty netter, and then Charlie Coyle at the very end of the game there, at the 17:03 mark, making it 5-1. I picked Dallas and New Jersey at the start of the season to represent both their conferences. I stuck with those picks, but it's really, Dallas and New Jersey that just don't look very good right now. We're going to talk about the Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils here next. And going back to my Eastern Conference playoff preview video, I had some comments about who was it? Stankoven, I believe it was, for the Hurricanes. I do think that's who I was talking about. Hold on just to say, Logan Stankoven, that, I liked him as a player, wasn't sure if I wouldn't rather have him, Rantanen or Natchez. And then, of course, what does Stankoven do? He goes out and scores 2 goals in that game against the New Jersey Devils, just making my take look like a glass of milk on a 100-degree summer day. Just did not age very well. Carolina all over New Jersey in this one. Chatfield got the goal scoring started there in the first period. Stankoven with 2 in the second period. He sure does answer back, making it 3-1. And then Svechnikov there, empty netter to make it 4-1 late in that third period. Dominant effort. Shots on goal were 1,000-10. It felt like in this game. New Jersey with all sorts of defensive issues. They can adjust. I do think they win a game or two. Of course, I did pick them in this series. I just hope you didn't take my picks to Vegas because, again, that one's not aging well. Not aging well for me at all. Last couple of games here, we'll talk about going back to Sunday. Maple Leafs 6-2 winners, dominant effort over the Ottawa Senators. Let's just pull up this here. It was a lot to a little here. OEL getting the goal scoring started there for the Maple Leafs. Mitch Marner with an amazing kind of breakaway goal there on Allmark, assisted by Matthews on that one, making it 2-0. Batherson does answer, making it 2-1 after one. But then second period, Tavares and Nylander both getting power play goals and making it 4-1. Greg gets one to make it 4-2 in the third. Then Riley and then Knives on a power play again, making it 6-2. Three power play goals was listening to not ESPN, NHL radio this afternoon, and some numbers coming out from last year, Toronto series against Boston, that I think they scored three power play goals in the entire series, 7-game series against Boston last season. So, I mean, they came out just looking confident, not that kind of fear, that mental fear that they've had, over the years in the first round. Listen, Ottawa did a lot of good things in this game. They had a lot of shots on goal, but their PK not great. I don't put this one on Allmark, but a couple of those early on where Ottawa was just completely out shooting Toronto. Allmark need to stop one of those to make a difference there. But anyway, they'll have a chance to answer. But Toronto big time win 6-2 over the Ottawa Senators. Sorry about that. I was trying to hold that one back. Last game of Sunday was the Golden Knights 4-2 winners over the Minnesota Wild. A game that was fairly nip and tuck throughout. Probably really one of the closer games here when you go back to this game and then really the Winnipeg St. Louis game here this first couple of days of the playoffs. But Thomas Hurdle gets the goal scoring going there in the first period, followed up by Minnesota's Matt Boldy, 1-1 after one. Doriev just continuing to have just a great season for himself. Power play goal in the second period, making it 2-1. Howden early in that third period, making it 3-1. Boldy does answer again, an assist from Kaprizov. Kaprizov just magical with his passing in this game. Does make it 3-2, so you do have a little bit of a game, but then it's Howden getting the empty netter unassisted to make it 4-2. Yeah, I mean, Vegas is winning this game or winning this series, but I do like to see how Minnesota pushed a little bit and made it a game, made it close, made it interesting. So that's just really good for them. So that's where we're at. Of course, we have Washington and Montreal right now into their intermission later on tonight, everybody. Let's take a look at the rest of the slate here. We do have, let me get back to my cursor here. Jets and Blues are actually underway as well. They are 6:39 left in the first period, 0-0 there. Avalanche and Stars start at 9:30 tonight. Game 2 of that series. Oilers and Kings getting kicked off and later tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow, you do have the Devils and Hurricanes at Game 2. Senators and Maple Leafs Game 2. Panthers and Lightning finally getting their series started. Game 1 last series to get going. Good for the Panthers, getting some extra time for guys like Matthew Tkachuk to get rested up. And then the Wild and Golden Knight finish off tomorrow night with Game 2 of that series. So, best time of the year if you are a hockey fan. The first round is always just it's just candy. It's just candy. Just amazing matchups, and the games haven't been super amazing. I'd say we had the Winnipeg St. Louis game was all right. Vegas, Minnesota was kind of competitive. The other ones have been a little bit of a ho-hum, kind of some blowouts in there, but still just a lot of fun to watch. Hopefully Montreal can keep this close here with Washington, make it a game tonight would be good to see. A little bit of an update on the channel before we get into other NHL news. On Wednesday, I will be having ECHL Maine Mariners owner Dexter Payne and Maine Mariners broadcaster and media director Michael Keeley back on the channel. They've been on a couple of times with me, but they are coming on Wednesday morning. We're going to record kind of a just after seasonal wrap up video on the season, taking listener questions on there. So should be a good time. Really looking forward to talking to them. A lot of good energy for the Maine Mariners as they end the season. They do miss the playoffs, but ending the season really on a high note, winning a lot of games late. I thought they had some really sneaky good transactions at the end of the year. We'll be curious to see how much of that energy they can carry into the summer and into next season. And a lot of things in the works right now for the Mariners. Some different things that Mr. Payne has talked about on the channel. We're going to have some follow up with that, including affiliation agreement with Boston that has not yet been signed or renewed. So we'll be curious to see what Mr. Payne has to say about that. In other coaching news, out of Seattle, Dan Bilsma out, fired after one season. Of course, he had been coaching in Coachella Valley, their AHL club, of course, going back a number of years in Pittsburgh, Stanley Cup champion coach, but he is out after one season, missing the playoffs. Tough road for these coaches, right? They don't get a whole lot of leash. The good news, though, is that Jessica Campbell, his assistant coach, will be staying on staff. Of course, she is the very first female ever to be an assistant coach at the NHL level. So great to see her staying on board. Do apologize for that cough again. And I don't have my editing software tonight, so unfortunately I won't be able to edit too much of these little pauses out. So again, apologize for that. Of course, it was back over the weekend. A couple of coaches fired. Of course, Laviola in New York with the Rangers and Greg Cronin from the Anaheim Ducks. And I was surprised about Cronin myself. And again, I'm a little bit biased. I'm a Maine guy. Okay, so I'm from Maine, and Cronin has big time Maine ties, and so I love it when we see these guys who come from this area who either coach here, or play here, and they make it to the NHL. But according to Frank Saravalli, there were some reports of some kind of negative player interactions in terms of how he was maybe handling some of the players and those relationships. Apparently, he was warned about this, according to what Saravalli had to say, and may be part of why he was fired. Now, of course, none of us are in that room. We don't know. I don't really have a problem with a coach being a bit of a hard ass when he has to be on these players. And listen, this is the Anaheim team who a lot of young guys, a lot of young players, they've had to learn kind of on the fly how to win games. They, improved by 8 wins and 21 points over this season. So you have to assume some of that worked. But then there's that narrative, well, maybe it was just Dostel, their young goaltender that kind of saved that season or helped them to elevate a little bit this year. I don't know, but feels like a raw deal, in my opinion. I mean, just being on the outside looking in, it feels like, I don't think this was a playoff roster when you started the season. Yes, they didn't make the playoffs, but they improved dramatically. I thought they were a fun team to watch this year, too, for the first time in a long time. Anaheim was a fun watch. They were. They just were. They were one of my top 5 teams to watch this year. And I just, again, was a little bit surprised. Is he a fit in Boston? I think he may be on that list. I don't know how high up the list he is. Of course, we still don't have an official word from Boston on Joe Sacco. I think all indicators are he's probably out, but no official news as of recording here. So we will wait and see. But Seattle now open. And we got another little bit that we'll talk about here coming out of Vancouver. But before we get to that, I do want to talk about our Maine Nordiques, a team that I haven't talked about a lot lately. Of course, they're in the North American Hockey League, kind of comparable to, I guess, to the Q up in Canada in that same kind of level in terms of that type of players. But the Maine Nordiques are in the second round of the Robertson Cup playoffs right now. In a best of 5 series against the Maryland Black Bears, tied 1-1 in that series. They do have a couple of home games coming up, the next 2 on the 25th at the Coliseum in Lewiston, 7:30 puck drop, and then again on the 26th for Game 4 of that series, 7 p.m. puck drop there. So, listen, the Mariners are done, the Bruins are done. If you want to go watch some good playoff hockey here in Maine, you're in the area, go check those boys out. They've had a really great run. This team has never won the Robertson Cup. This might be their best chance to do it. So, would be a fun, a fun night out to go watch some good live hockey and support the team there. A little bit other news just coming out of the league, a little bit of playoff news, a little bit of other news from around the league. Colorado Avalanche have activated Gabriel Landeskog. He has been activated off the IR and is a possibility for tonight's game. They're dealing with a few injuries on their side. Of course, Landeskog hasn't played in 3 years. So, man, I mean, we're all just waiting and hoping that we can see him out there on the ice. That would be great to see later on tonight. Again, I haven't looked at any reports the last hour or so if he's dressing or not, but I'm sure by the time this video is out, it's probably going to be old news. But just awesome to see that. I just hope it goes well. I just hope it goes well. Of course, we are into the Washington Montreal game. Logan Thompson is in net for the Capitals. That was a little bit of a question mark about his health. He is back out there, and so far pitching a shutout. So looking good, looking good. Um, a couple of interesting comments around the league today. Of course, you have the locker cleanout days for these teams that missed the playoffs. And in Detroit, they had all the interview media availability. Dylan Larkin, captain of the Detroit Red Wings, had some comments just about the disappointment that their front office didn't do more at the trade deadline for the team. Um, Players don't talk often. They keep things very close to the vest. Organizations keep things very close to the vest. You don't get a lot of kind of open dialogue sometimes about the kind of the real story of what's going on in the locker room or in the dressing room from these guys. But Larkin, pretty matter of fact about just how disappointing it was that Yzerman didn't add to the room at the deadline to help this team that just misses the playoffs again. They're right there on the line once again, can't get themselves in. Fought hard, a good number of veterans on that team. Of course, they bring in McClellan as a head coach, and just not enough there. And Larkin kind of makes a comment of kind of deflated the dressing room a little bit. Kind of it affected the dressing room. So, listen, I love it. I love the fact that he's willing to talk about this because we don't get these comments very often. Maybe some Detroit fans will be like, you know what, just keep it in house, keep it inside. But yeah, it makes what I do a lot more interesting covering the league and talking hockey. Listen, Larkin's a Michigan guy. He's a Detroit Red Wing. He, I think, is speaking out of frustration of love for his team and just disappointment, right? I was a little bit surprised too. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of right there with him. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't do more either. But here we are. We'll see if there's any fallout from it or what happens here. The Yzer plan is in, I don't know what year, but it's still no playoffs yet, right? Still no playoffs. And really, the last big piece of news, and we're going to get back to this hockey game here in just a few minutes, but the Vancouver Canucks choosing not to exercise their last year option on head coach Rick Tocchet. So they are not exercising their option. In lieu of that, they have offered him apparently a new lucrative multi-year deal. I think the idea here is they did not want him to be a lame duck coach on a last year of his contract, wanting to lock it up. I think that they are also understanding that he's a little bit of a valuable entity, and other teams are looking at him. There's obviously some openings right now around the league. And they're, kind of spinning this as, hey, we want to lock him up. So we're not going to exercise this. We're going to try to make it more lucrative for him. Man, if I'm Rick Tocchet, I'm sitting there looking at Philadelphia like, hey, I'm a former Philly. I'm a former Flyer. I think they probably have a whole lot of interest in Tocchet. might be a sneaky move for Boston as well. Maybe he would be a fit. I really feel like talking is probably done in Vancouver. I do. I felt that for a couple of weeks. And now with this news here today that I don't know how it works contractually if he, um, I mean, they've not renewed his, they haven't, used the option. So I guess he's technically a free agent, right? I mean, I guess legally I don't know, but um, yeah, I mean, I think that he'd be a great fit in Philly. I just do. I can see that all day. Um, so you might be looking at potential new head coach in Vancouver. Now, too, I'll be curious to see how that all plays out. Well, that is all I have for you guys tonight. Just want to come on and cover a bit of this news today, give the Maine Nordiques a little love, and just give a real quick update as to what we've seen here in the playoffs. And we are back, yep, just a minute into Montreal, Washington. So we're going to get back to that. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. If you do like what you're hearing on this channel, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Do appreciate that. And until next time, everybody, be kind, show love, and God bless.